John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to do an in-depth head-to-head comparison between the all-new Nama J3 and the original Nama J2 that's been out for over 2 years now on the market. The Nama J3 was just released in 2024. I know a lot of you guys may have been waiting for the J3 because you want the improved J2, but you don't want to buy the J2 because you want something better than the J2. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you guys straight away, right? Nama has been making rolling improvements to the J2 all the way along. So if you guys buy the J2 now, you're actually buying a better machine than when they originally released it in 2022. That being said, they're releasing the Nama J3 now, and to my knowledge, there hasn't been any production improvements because they just came out with it. Hopefully over time they will make rolling improvements like they have with the Nama J2 to make it even better. That being said, the main difference between these guys is that they are a different size. This Nama calls a compact version of the Nama J2. I will say it's a smaller version of a juicer that works similar to the J2, but it doesn't share any parts with the J2, including none of the motors, the switches, none of the pieces in there, although the design is very similar. If you guys want to learn more specifically about the Nama J3, check the link down below to my unboxing review video that goes deeper than anybody else on YouTube, because I want you to have all the information, unlike other influencers that may put out a 10-15 minute video that use sound bites and information that comes directly from Nama. While I do take Nama's information into account, I will also do my own testing to prove to you guys how these machines work and what you may expect with the machines. Now I know there's a small segment of you guys out there thinking, John, that's not a fair comparison, man. You should compare the J3 to another small compact juicer. And what I will say to you guys is, for those of you guys that want a small compact juicer, you're right, and so that's why you want to click the subscribe button. Make sure you click the little bell, because I'll be comparing the Nama J3 to all the other major brands, smaller hopper style juicers on the market, so that you guys can find the best compact juicer if that's what you're doing. That being said, because many people think, oh, the Nama J2 is better than the J1 because J1 came first, the Nama J3 is better than the J2 because it's the latest thing, and to me, that's totally not true. And this video is for people out there that are considering buying the latest Nama juicer, and should they really buy the J3 or the J2 because the J3 just came out? It's gotta be better, right? Ooh, in my opinion, it's not, but this test will reveal it all. So stay tuned. So the first thing I want to say in this video is that if you don't know me, my name is John Kohler, and I started the website and company DiscountJuicers.com back in 1998. That's over 25 years ago, to educate the customers around the world about juicers and offer discounted prices on juicers in the United States on brand new equipment. And to my namesake, I still do that today. And I always save you guys the most money. I've negotiated with all my major brands that I work with to save you guys the most money on the juicers. And whether you guys want to buy the Nama J3 or the J2, which is my favorite, you can click the link down below, namawell.com, and make sure you guys use the coupon code BIGDADDY. That's BIGDADDY because the Nama J2 is the big daddy of the J3. It's not the other way around. This is the baby, this is the son, the daughter, whatever. And this is the daddy. So whether you guys want to buy the J3 or the J2, coupon code BIGDADDY is going to save you guys 10% off, which is the best available coupon available at this time. This coupon will work worldwide, whether you are in the United States, and there is free shipping to the 48 United States on the J3 or the J2, and there is also free shipping in the European Union on the European Union version of the Nama J3, also the J2, and there is discounted rates, DHL shipping rates in most cases, to shipping to all other countries around the world, which is actually greatly discounted than what you might think you would pay. So if you are considering buying the J2, make sure you guys use the coupon code BIGDADDY. It's going to save you guys 10% off, which is $45 in the US on the J3 currently, and $55 on the J2. I want to thank you guys in advance who will use my coupon code, because that allows me to make these comparison videos that go deeper than anybody else, because I want to share with you guys the truth. I don't like wool being pulled over anybody's eyes, in any aspect of life. That being said, I can't dispel myths in many things in life, but I'm here to say confidently that I can dispel all the myths about juice because I'm the #1 world's juicer expert, self-proclaimed, because I have been juicing for 29 years. I go to all the different trade shows in the United States that share and discuss and talk about home appliances, kitchen appliances, and I played and tested more juicers than anybody else in the world. So I want to thank you guys who will use my coupon code, and if I've helped you out, hey, use that coupon code, help yourself out, save 10%, and also Nama will share with me a small commission so I can continue to buy my produce, pay my light bill, and of course, pay my amazing video editor that makes these videos happen. The first thing I want to share is not just the size difference of the machines, but the price difference. And I think this is really the clincher and should really direct a lot of you guys or girls one direction or the other. You know, as I said, if you, in the USA, 10% off the J2 is $55. So if you do the math, that means at present time, the price is $5.50. And in the USA, 10% off the J3 will save you $45. Which means the price is currently $450. I normally don't like to mention pricing in my videos, but it is important for me to mention it in this case because in this case, the price difference is only $100 difference. And in my opinion, although I'm a frugal guy, I would not spend my hard-earned $450 to buy the J3 when I could buy the J2. And knowing what I know about the juicers, this is just a much better value because you get a lot more for $100 that I will be explaining to you guys in this video. And I know a lot of you guys don't like my long videos. That's why I'm telling you guys this in advance. If you guys just want the better of these two, my personal opinion is the J2. That being said, for some of you people out there, the J2 may not make sense. You have a small kitchen in Asia or in Europe, right? And that you just can't make the J2 fit as much as you want, right? It is only a little bit larger, and I will be doing measurement tests for those of you guys and girls out there that have a smaller kitchen and need something more compact and don't like the bulkiness of this, then yes, get this machine for $100 less because they will meet your needs. If you travel a lot, want to throw this in your travel bag, this is surely going to travel a lot easier than this. It is a few lighter pounds that we'll be measuring in a minute, and it's a little bit smaller. We'll be also measuring that in a minute. And also, you know, you're a college student or you're new into juicing, you know, you might want to get this juicer to tiptoe in. That being said, right, I would say go gung-ho, go all the way, make the space in your small apartment, you know, or in the space in your travel luggage for the full-size machine because in my opinion, it's just a much better machine, going to work more trouble-free and is likely to put less pulp in the juice that I'll be testing for sure in this episode. So that's pretty much my summary, and now we're going to go ahead and get to prove it to you guys about the differences between these two. All right, so first off, we're going to start with the size difference. We're going to move these side by side, and you guys can see we're going to go ahead and take a yardstick and measure them up on the table. I never trust anybody for the specific measurements except my eyes themselves. So this is basically 15 and 3/8 inches tall approximately, and the J2 is approximately 17 3/4 inches tall, so it's just a few inches taller. Let's check out the width. The width, of course, at the top is approximately 6 inches, and the width at the top of the J3 is 5 inches, so literally it's an inch wider on the top. And of course the base, maybe it's also a little bit wider too. We'll try the bottom of the base. Maybe we're looking almost 7 inches, maybe 6 and 15/16 on the J2. And on the J3, definitely it's 5.5 inches. So definitely smaller on that dimension as well. So as you guys can see, yes, it is a smaller machine. And because it is smaller, it will also weigh less. So let's go ahead and get the scales out and see how much each of these machines weigh. All right, so now I want to compare the weights according to my electronic scales here. This is measured out in pounds. The Nama J3 is 9.842 pounds, and the Nama J2 is 12.736 or 35 pounds. So as you guys can see, the Nama J2 is about 3 more pounds. And while the Nama J3 is 9.8 pounds, so something that I want to explain to you guys that you guys aren't seeing here because we're measuring, you know, the 2 high-end vertical hopper juicers on the market. Of course, the BIGDADDY, that'll save you 10% off, and the little small baby or the Sun. Okay, and there's only a 3-pound difference. So if you're packing your luggage, right, hey, 3 extra pounds gets you a lot more juicer for a little bit more money than the J3. That being said, what I will say about the J3 is if you are looking for a compact juicer and comparing the J3 compact juicer to other compact juicers on the market, like the ones from China, even like some of the ones from Korea, I will say that this juicer weighs more than them because it has a heavy-duty motor. You guys don't understand that the reason why these weigh so much is because they are using high-quality motors that are made in Korea, not made in China, that have the proper amount of torque for the juicer as well as power to crunch up and juice all your fruits and vegetables. So while the difference is only 3 pounds, right, know this, in the compact juicer, the J3, it does weigh a lot more than other compact juicers out there. That being said, the difference in weight is only 3 pounds, so you might think, hey, for $100 less, maybe it should cost half as much. No, it doesn't. It just costs $100 less. So to me, the money value is on the J2. I personally believe the J3 should have been costing a little bit less than it does. All right, so you guys saw the size test difference, the weight test difference, and now we're going to go ahead and do a sound test difference, and I know which one's going to win already. First, we're going to go ahead and turn on the J3. We're basically at 60 decibels, right on the money, and actually that is one quiet juicer on the lower end of juicers out there. Let's go ahead and turn on the J2. I'm going to say we're averaging out at 68 decibels, so 8 decibels louder. Not much louder, but it does make a little bit of a difference. So if you want to buy the machine, regardless of size, that's the most quiet between these two machines, definitely the J3 is it. So now I want to discuss with you guys why Nama came out with a J3. Is it to confuse everybody out there because now they want everybody to buy the J3 instead of the J2? No, it's because they listen to customers and some of their customers says, Nama, we love how the J2 works, but we have a small kitchen. We live in Asia, we live in Europe, we travel a lot, or maybe we're a college kid and we're in a dorm and we don't want the full-size machine. So they listen to their customers and they came out with the Nama J3 that will meet the bill and fit the bill and address an additional market segment that they weren't reaching with a smaller compact machine with the Nama quality and Nama durability. That's very important. Both these machines have a full 15-year warranty worldwide. And for those of us in the United States, we take long warranties on juicers for granted, but if you guys are in other countries around the world, you guys don't understand a lot of countries around the world that have really short warranties on juicers. Sometimes it's 10 years, sometimes it's 2 years on the part, sometimes it's 5 years, and in some of the worst countries, there's only a 1-year warranty. That is really where the value is because Nama has designed these and know that the quality is very high and that they should see very little issues with the machines when they are used appropriately. That's why they're able to offer a full 15-year warranty. And if nothing else sells you on the machine, the warranty should, because if you buy a similar price machine or even a machine that costs more and it has less of a warranty, right, and it breaks after a few years after it's out of warranty, you got to spend your hard-earned money and buy another one. When you invest in the Nama, in your health, in your juicer, you are making a solid investment that is guaranteed for the next 15 years against manufacturer's defect. Now, the other thing I want to say is straight up that the J3 is not for some people. If you want to go on a juice fast, I don't recommend buying the J3 because you're going to waste a lot of time juicing small volumes and a lot of batches or a lot of hopperfuls to make a large volume of juice to juice fast in. If you guys want a bulk juice like I show in my videos, links down below to my green juice bulk juicing. I make 8 quarts in under an hour. I also make a root juice where I make 10 quarts in over an hour in the Nama J2, right? The J3 is not made for bulk juicing. You could bulk juice in it. I would say it's not really wise to do it because it's going to be a pain in the butt and actually take you significantly longer, and the J2 will save you a lot more time. Also, the J3 is not for people that want additional functionality on their machines, such as the Nama J2 is able to make frozen fruit sorbets and nut butters. The Nama J3 is not. So the Nama J2 also, you could buy the additional citrus attachment to cut an orange in half, or grapefruit, or lemon, or lime, or tangerine, put it on the reamer, and have instant juice with the J2. There's no such attachment for the J3. The J2, you could also buy a 3-liter hopper edition, right? It comes with a 2-liter hopper, but has a 3-liter hopper, whereas the hopper on the J3 is approximately 1 liter, maybe a little more than 1 liter. So literally, you could have a lot easier time juicing, batch juicing with a larger hopper, and they will continue to make other accessories for the J2 in the future. And I'm not aware that any accessories are planned for the J3. Now, the other thing I will say, me personally, in my opinion, is that if you guys just like hassle-free juicing, you guys want to buy the Nama J2 instead of the J3. In my original unboxing video, linked down below, when I juiced carrots and load this up with carrots, the machine kept stopping. Meanwhile, I have videos linked down below where I juiced 6 pounds of carrots in the Nama J2. I put the carrots in there, turn it on. I don't have to mess with it turning off or stopping or clogging or jamming or anything. You know, once again, Nama has dialed this machine in over the 2+ years it has been out now, and they have a solid time-proven motor in it, whereas this is, you know, a new machine that I'm not familiar with all the ins and outs of pros and cons as of yet. So if you guys are an early adopter, hey, this machine might be for you, but if you're something that likes a stable investment, you just want to buy something that works so you don't have any hassles, right? Get the Nama J2. So now I want to show you the different accessories that come with each of the machines that are different, right? Both these machines come with an instruction book, a recipe book, and a quick start guide, as well as a power cord and a cleaning tool brush that is similar or the exact same thing on the both machines. That being said, what is different are some of the accessories that you get, including the different catch cups as well as the accessory parts. So let's go over that real quick. So over on the Nama J3, you get the J3 all set up ready to juice. You also get the, they call this a coarse hole sieve or a screen for the J3 that will put more pulp in your juice. It is open on the bottom. Meanwhile, with the Nama J2, you get what they call a smoothie screen, which I'm glad they actually renamed because they should have been calling it a coarse hole screen all along. They both have similar size holes, and while they say you can make smoothies with this, link down below my video where I share the truth on how the J2 makes smoothies. In my opinion, it doesn't do a good job at making smoothies, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. But this can be used to put more pulp in your juice, or this one. They're basically the same part, one just smaller because, of course, the machine is smaller. Link down below to my video. Never juice fruits without doing this, and one of the tips is to use the coarse screen when you juice the fruits. Okay, the next thing that's different between these machines are the catch cup sizes. On the original Nama J2, it comes with 2 catch cups. So the catch cup is measured up to 35 ounces on the Nama J2. There are no measurements on the pulp catch container. Meanwhile, over on the Nama J3, they have the juice catch container, which is measured up to 40 ounces. So actually it's bigger than the one that comes with the J2. The J2 one could almost fit inside there. So actually this is quite an upgrade. So actually I like that this is larger, can hold more juice, has a nicer handle and better pour spout than just pouring off one of the edges of the J2. Additionally, while the J2 originally came out in my initial unboxing, I think that's the only video you'll see, this actually had a lid cover, and they've simply removed that without telling anybody over the years. That being said, the J3 catch container comes with a lid that will not only fit the juice catch cup, so you could store your juice in the fridge and you could even pour it out like this. It also has 2 layers of ribbing, which is a good design, so you can actually store your pulp or your pulp catch container as well. So I do like this lid, is multi-purpose. That being said, they made the pulp catch container smaller than the juice catch container. Look at this. Here's the pulp catch container on the J2, a good size. Here's the pulp catch container on the J3. Look at this. It's almost like I could probably shove this in there and make it fit, and we still got more space in there. Right, so you guys learned that I'm not a fan of the smaller Pulp catch container, it should be larger in my personal opinion. That being said, what this means is that you're just gonna have to dump it out more often than not, adding additional work to your juicing process. I suppose if you are just using this machine to make a single glass of juice, it's not gonna be an issue because you could easily fit the pulp in the container to make 12 ounces or 16 ounces of juice. But once you go above 24, unless you're punching it down, it will overflow the container, as I learned in the original unboxing video. That being said, I want to show you guys what you will miss out on by ordering the Nama J3 instead of the J2, because the J2 currently has 3 different accessories and more in the pipeline that you can buy to make the Nama J2 even better. Number 1 favorite, link down below to my video, how to make sorbet, frozen fruit sorbet and nut butter in the Nama J2 with the sorbet attachment that they made due to my input as well as the input from other customers. That is an optional attachment to make frozen fruit sorbet so you can get rid of the ice cream and start eating healthier. And also, of course, make your own nut butters as I show it in the link down below. In addition, also due to my suggestion, they came out with a 3-liter hopper as not to get left behind by other companies that came out with a machine that had a 3-liter hopper to make juicing more easy and convenient. This is my favorite accessory by far because literally you just take off the 2-liter hopper, dump on the 3-liter hopper. Now instantly you have 50% more space to fill up, which means you'll be needing to load up your juicer even less and make bulk juicing even easier. So this 3-liter hopper holds 105 ounces compared to 70 ounces compared to the measly 36 ounces on the Nama J3. Now, of course, the other accessory that's actually been selling the best out of all of them, in my opinion, is the citrus attachment. So you literally take the top set off the J2, you put on the citrus attachment, and now you could use this machine as a citrus reamer. Link down below to my video for that. You know, so there is expandability on the J2 motor base, which is simply amazing. This is something simply you're not going to get with the Nama J3 at this time, and even in the future, you know, I'm not sure that they're even going to make accessories for the J3 because the sales number on the J3, in my opinion, are definitely not as great as the J2. So they have an established customer base that if they make an accessory for, a large percentage of them that love their J2 will probably buy additional accessories to add further functionality to the amazing J2 juicer. All right, so next part of this comparison is I'm going to go ahead and take the machine apart, part by part, and show you guys the differences between the different parts, how they're the same, and actually how they are significantly different. All right, first off, on the Nama J3, you need to remove the whole top set off the base to take it apart, and you should also do that on the J2. And let's go ahead and remove each of the top sets off the machine. So you guys can see the top set on the J2 is a nice handy, easy to grab handle. In addition, to pop the lid up, there's a little latch here you just press in and it pops up. So this is a very easy like trigger that you just click on and it pops up and the lid goes up. Meanwhile, over on the J3, there's no easy handle, so you kind of got to just grip this whole thing. And then to get this lid to go up, you got to actually put your finger in there and just pop it up. So this is not quite as ergonomic, right? Now, there's pros and cons of this lid. This lid is not removable, so that's kind of a good thing, because if you normally are a little bit clumsy, you bump it and the lid falls off, which can be, you know, get you upset sometimes. That could be a good thing, but for me, when I wash the machine, I put it upside down on my drain rack, and now it doesn't sit, you know, flush on my drain rack easily. Meanwhile, the Nama J2, this is one of the first versions. If you just push the lid a little bit, the lid will come off. They've tightened this up on the future versions, especially on the 3-liter version hopper. It's nice and tight. That being said, you can remove the lid so it's easier to clean. And of course, you can set this upside down on your drain rack to drain out, which is what I like to do. In addition, on the top of this lid, there is a hole. So, you know, that's the magic of the J2, and that's really where the magic is about the J2. This is the game-changing technology in the J2 that, in my opinion, they kind of failed on the J3. The J2 technology is that you could load up this large 2-liter hopper with produce, right? Turn the machine on and walk away and let the machine do all the juicing. It'll just basically burn through all the produce in almost all situations without clogging, stopping, or jamming, and produce from 24 to 32 ounces of juice based on my specific testing. And also, in addition, if you guys have more than that, you could actually just put things in the little hole to keep it going, so you don't have to stop the machine, open the lid, fill it some more, and then shut it. Of course, you have that option if you want, but you have the option of basically putting produce in the little hole. Meanwhile, with the J3, you do not have that functionality. This is, I think, the worst thing about the J3. Even like inexpensive Chinese knockoff J2 juicers have a hole in the lid so that you can actually continually feed items in like an old-fashioned continual feed juicer. This is the thing that I'm really not in agreement upon with Nama. In addition, of course, I think they failed because this hopper is just too small. I mean, of course, I don't drink small quantities of juice, and I know some of you out there do. That being said, in my original test, link down below, I get 12 ounces, whether I juice something hard like carrots and pack this full, or pack it fairly full of oranges. You know, of course, if you want to make a cup or a cup and a half of juice, 12 ounces, this should do it in one hopper full. That being said, you'll have to stop the machine, open the lid, fill more up, and then stop, put the lid down to have it continue to juice. In addition, when I juiced carrots, the machine did stop several times because the torque load on the motor, you know, the motor just did not have enough power to crunch through it like the J2 would. All right, so that's the lid. In addition, I want to show you guys this. The hopper on the J2 is exactly round, right? It's easy when it's round because now the processing blade that spins around inside here that I'm spinning with my finger is also designed so that it works with a round container so that it's equidistant at any one point between any of the edges of the container, so now the processing blade can work more effectively, in my opinion. Meanwhile, if we take a look at this hopper, it is not round. It still uses a similar style processing blade, but because this is actually a square design with rounded corners, it's not completely round. So in my opinion, as this is going around, right, it's basically not quite equidistant at every possible space, so that means there's gaps in where the processing blade can't get to basically agitate the food to get it to funnel in the machine. Also, if you look at the tolerances between these, the tolerance between the lower processing blade and going out to the edge of the container, I mean, it's like there's that much space. And in between the processing blade, the lower blade, and the container, depending on what point you're at, like if you're at an extreme corner, there's at least about double or even triple the space as there is in the J2. So what does this mean to me? That means there are dead spots where things may get stuck and may not get agitated. In addition, if we look at the top processing blade, at the worst case, when this is at the end, and I wish I had my micrometer today, but if we're at the worst case, which is basically one of the corners, and this processing blade is at the corner, I could stick, let's see, 2 fingers in there. I could stick these 2 fingers in there, you know, so that means, once again, more dead spots. If I take these 2 same fingers and stick it between the top processing blade and the other one, I can only stick this finger in there. So there's a whole extra pinky length of my finger, right, in this processing blade, which means to me that it's not going to be as effective at pulling produce in. That is really the game-changing technology of the J2 that other hopper-style machines have not caught up with, in my opinion. They have not done that processing blade, designed it, their hopper shape, design, or processing blade as well as the J2. That gives the J2 a little bit of an edge in most situations when juicing. Other influencers are simply not going to tell you this because they're not as observant as I am, and I literally go over each machine with a fine-tooth comb. This is really helpful when I'm selling juicers, but in other areas of life where I pick out exceptions, it really doesn't serve me too well. All right, now the other thing that's quite different is the size of the opening on the bottom. So as a processing blade goes around, the job of the processing blade is twofold. Number one, it partially pre-cuts produce into smaller pieces so the machine does not clog and jam. Number two, it also feeds the juicer in at a slow and moderate rate. So because the hopper is so much smaller on here, this also has a smaller opening at the bottom of the hopper to feed the produce in. And if I just line these up and compare them, it looks like it's a tad bit smaller on the J3 than on the J2. So what this may mean is this may mean that things may take longer to process or go in too quickly. You know, it's just really hard to know, but yeah, it's basically a little bit smaller, so it may not work as effectively in my opinion. So the one saving grace about this hopper that I like actually is that it's one piece molded clear plastic, whereas on the J2 it's two pieces. You got one molded piece here, and then you actually got the molded black piece that is basically cemented to the bottom of it. And then the other thing is both these have external gaskets, which means you could actually load up the bowl with water and it will not spill or leak. That being said, both gaskets are pretty much on the outside, and I've really not have them come off. Like on some other machines, I've had the gaskets come off, so that's really not even an issue. The other thing I have noticed is on the bottom of the machines, you know, for some reason there will be more residue on the bottom, on the underside of the Nama J3 than on the J2 when I'm done juicing. Of course, this may vary depending on specifically what you're juicing. All right, next up, let's go ahead and pull out the juicing auger on both machines. As you guys can see, the augers actually made out of the same material. Pretty similar shape, a little bit different actually. They both have kind of a similar design on the top. This is just more accentuated. So there's like a larger area that actually produce could drop into and get fed into the machine. That means because this is more miniature, that means you may get more rotations where things don't drop inside, which means it's going to take you guys longer to juice. The other thing is that this unit has divots, which is said to make the juicing a little more quieter, whereas this one does not. They both have the gears on the bottom that drive the wiping blade, and they both have also recessed metal in here where the motor shaft goes into, so that makes it easier to clean as well. And actually both of them have a similar size drive on the top. So yeah, the augers are fairly similar. The other thing that I want to really let you guys know about that most people are not going to consider is that the run on these augers. So what is the run? The run is, you know, how much space does your produce go into as it's getting crushed up and squeezed and the juice is coming out. As you guys can see, the J2 auger is taller, which means there's more space where the auger feeds in the produce, crushes it up, so this may mean it may do a better job at grinding things up to a smaller particle size than the J3. Of course, this also depends on the little bottom area where they do the final grind. That being said, I always like a more of a run because that generally means you're going to get a better process and a higher quality juice in the end, because you know the finer things are ground, the more cell walls are broken open, and the more nutrition is exposed and put into your juice. All right, next up we got the wiping blade and juicing screen coming out. As you guys can see, they're very similar. The J3 is just kind of a miniaturized version, somewhat, but not all the way. First up, let's go ahead and take off the processing blade. I will say this is a lot more stuck on and harder to get off the J3 screen than it is on the J2, which more easily comes off. This is my well-used J2 processing blade. As you guys can see, they're fairly similar. You know, to me, I mean, the J3 part seems a little bit more heavy duty, but also it seems more stout, but also it seems like there's more plastic in here and more areas and things for it to clean, I guess, which is a pro and a con. Yeah, so I mean, this one's a little bit more lighter duty, easier to pick up, maybe flexes a little bit more, but they use similar style silicone wiping blades that actually are a little bit more firm on the J3 than on the J2, but they should both do a sufficient job, so I really can't say much about it. I just prefer the design of the J2 because it kind of comes off a little bit easier. And then last up, we are comparing the juicing screen. This is where it's a little bit different. While both juicing screens have two stages, the main difference I'm seeing is that, you know, on the J3 screen, they didn't punch the holes all the way around. There are some gaps on the top on the first stage screen, which granted, a lot of juice does not come out of the first stage screen in most cases. Most of the juice comes out of the second stage screen. But there's areas where there's basically solid non-punch plate, which, you know, to me could have easily been punched out. I don't see why they're not punching it unless they're lazy or for some other reason. but there's an area here where it's non-punched, an area here where it's non-punched. Whereas if you look on the J2 screen, it's basically punched consistently all the way around with small gaps where the ribbing is for the strength. In addition, the hole sizes look to be fairly similar on both machines, and if I feel on the inside of the ridges, I mean, they both feel very similar. So basically what I'm feeling right now is the cut points as the produce gets ground up and put in the machine. These are the cut points that basically grind up the produce more, and they feel to be very similar. Of course, my screen is well used because I've used my J2 a lot. And then of comparing the opening on the bottom to each other to see how big they are. I mean, here's the fun thing. Although the screen is more miniaturized on the J3 model, the outlet port looks to be about the same size. So that's quite interesting. So it doesn't grind up as well, but then it flows out the produce at the same rate as the BIGDADDY that has a lot more surface area to basically allow juice to come out. We'll see if this does affect yield, because Nama says, oh, they make about the same yield. I haven't done any testing yet. The last thing I want to discuss is the bottom of the screen. And this is actually quite critical because I think this will play a difference in how the machines juice when I'm actually juicing with them in a little bit. But I mean, the J2 screen seems a bit more durable on the bottom, whereas the J3 screen, the bottom does not seem quite as thick, which may mean pulp may end up leaking more underneath it, which is quite interesting. The other thing to think about is that both these machines have actually a similar size gear on the bottom that turns the wiping blade. So despite this being a smaller machine, it has a similar size wiping gear. I will remind you that the wiping gear is actually where it spins to turn the wiping blade, but at the same time it's also pushing pulp out of the machine into your juice, right? Many people may not tell you that because they don't even know it. And then of course the juicing bowl on both machines, as you guys could see, this one is of course round, whereas this one is, once again, squared off with rounded edges. This one, of course, has a stopper here, and as does the J3 have a stopper. I mean, I will say the stopper is improved because this stopper could rest all the way in the up position or even halfway position, whereas the stopper on mine is a bit worn out, and it doesn't even go all the way up. It goes kind of almost all the way up, but then it could stay there, but then it falls down to almost closed. I don't know. And I do like maybe the rounded size of this instead of the squared off design of the J2. I will say on the bottom of this, because it is a smaller piece, it's a little bit tighter to get in to the different areas to clean the bottom, although it is pretty much flat on the bottom. Whereas on the J2, also flat on the bottom, but there's a lot wider gaps on here to get in to clean. Of course, both of them have the flip open trap door, so you could easily clean the pulp out when you're done. I do like the J2. You can actually remove this pulp flap that some people have lost, so that actually you could get in there and clean it. I do like that it is solely removable. In addition, there's a little gasket here that I've never had fallen out when cleaning this part. That being said, over on the Nama J3, once again has a trap door, and you could open this up, and then you could remove this flap to an extent, but it's actually on a little kind of rubber band, so you actually can't fully remove it or lose it. This is a pro and a con, makes it a bit harder to clean underneath there. And then this doesn't quite go in as easy as the other piece. In addition, I just remembered, you know, while this does have a gasket on there, this also has a gasket, and the first time I cleaned the J3, this gasket actually fell off. So while this is, you're not going to lose this piece on the J3, in my opinion, a lot of people will be losing this piece because I just basically opened this up, brushed it, and it just fell off. And this piece, I mean, you may miss it. It's small, and stuff. So I don't really know. I would have rather had this piece stay stationary and then this piece come out, and then now I got to deal with putting this little gasket thing back in there because I haven't used this since the first time. So let's see if I could even get this gasket thing back in there. All right, so I got that gasket thing back in there. It wasn't too hard, but let's see if I just tap this a little bit. All right, it's staying in. Oh, look, it's coming out. I tapped it, it started to come out. Anyways, they need to improve this piece, in my opinion, make it a little bit more thicker so it doesn't easily come out and somebody doesn't lose it. And then, of course, this has a max line, and they don't do markings on it, whereas this has a max line and it's marked up to 16 ounces. That being said, I will say that I do not recommend keeping your spout closed and mixing your juice in the bowl for two reasons. Number one, as a juicer is trying to get the juice out of the produce, it's literally sitting and spinning in juice. So this means, in my opinion, based on my testing, your pulp will come out a tad bit wetter. The other thing that, in my opinion, is not good is because it's sitting and spinning in the juicer, you are now aerating your juice more, lowering some of the oxygen-sensitive phytonutrients and causing more enzymes like polyphenol oxidase due to the higher oxygen content to become more active, right? This is fine points, may not lose 10% of your nutrition, but 1 or 2% yield, and lowering your nutrition quality and also lowering the storability of your juice, my opinion, is huge. But you know, I'm here to maximize every possible benefit when I process my produce, whether I'm using a juicer or not. So yeah, that's basically this part here. And then now we're down to the main motor bodies. Once again, these motor bodies are quite heavy. This is a significant portion of the weight of the juicer itself. I will say that both of these have a very similar spline on there. I think they use the same spline. Of course, they have a different motor. The Nama J2 motor is rated at 150 watts. The Nama J3 motor is rated at 130 watts, and this is how much wattage it will draw, how much current it will use. So if you're on a solar system, you know, using a little bit less power might be important to you. That being said, I use 20 extra watts of power to have a lot more torque from the J2 than the J3. That being said, some of the parts on the J2 I do like is that this is actually a metal on and off switch, whereas on the J2 it's plastic. Hopefully in the near future they're going to upgrade this knob to be the similar metal knob, high quality knob as well. Of course, both of these have a built-in safety switch, so unless the machine is properly assembled, it will not turn on. And both these machines have a detachable cord. And of course, both these machines come in US voltage, 110 and 220 volts for around the world, including models for Europe, Australia, and the United Kingdom. And with plug converters, can be used in other countries around the world. And you could order all these at, of course, namawell.com. Make sure you guys use the coupon code BIGDADDY, save you 10% off wherever you are in the world. Now the run time on both machines, interestingly enough, is 30 minutes. So that's actually quite impressive for a more compact machine. Most compact juicers may have a 15-minute or even 10-minute run time. So, you know, they did put a heavy-duty motor in here. That being said, you know, while the runtime on the J2 is 30 minutes, I usually, if I get the machine out, regularly run it an hour without issue. You know, me personally, I wouldn't even run the J3 1 hour because knowing how many times I'm going to have to just load up the hopper if I'm running it an hour just makes my head spin, and I'm not going to do it. So, of course, this is not the machine if you guys want to do bulk juicing. Save yourself some headaches, frustration, and time, and just get the J2. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and assemble each machine. One of the features of the J3 I like is that you can assemble it on the base, something you couldn't do with the original J2, but on the improved J2, some models out there, if you're getting a latest model, you can actually assemble it on the base. So I'm going to demonstrate that for the first time on video. So assembling the J3, first you're going to take the juicing bowl, drop that on. You're going to go ahead and then take the juicing screen and a wiping blade, shove those together. Oh, and this goes on, I put this on backwards so it doesn't go in. If it doesn't go in, then you're doing it the wrong way. The teeth need to be on the bottom. Locks into place. You can then look at the little half moon there, half moon there. This is the small side, this is the large side. And then you're going to go ahead and match it up with the small side and the large side. Drops in. You're going to go ahead and then take the auger, drop that right in. Make sure it fully seats down, otherwise the machine may not assemble correctly. And then finally you could take the top. And actually this is where I really like the J3 because they made this idiot proof. With the J2 you can't assemble it backwards and then the machine won't come on and people think they got a defective machine. With the J3, you try to put it on any direction other than the direction you're supposed to, and it will not lock into place. So this one only will lock into place if you assemble it correctly, and if you do, the machine will turn on just like that. Over on the J2, right, normally they recommend you assemble it off the base. That being said, this is the newer upgraded model that you can assemble on the base, so we're going to show that for the first time. You can take the juicing bowl, put that on the machine. Once again, take the wiping blade, juicing screen, put that on, and this is a lot easier because this is a lot larger diameter and the bottom is smaller, whereas on that, it's hard to discern the size difference because they look very similar. And once again, you got the large half moon, small half moon. Line these up with a small and large, drop it in place, take the auger, drops in place. You may need to spin this as you're pushing it down to make sure it's fully seated. If it is not fully seated, this top piece will not go on. On this top piece, on the J2, you can put it on backwards so that if you line this up, right, this doesn't line up with anything and the handle's on the back. This is not assembled correctly, right? That's where the J3 doesn't allow you to assemble it incorrectly. It's idiot-proofed, right? Meanwhile, the J2 you can assemble it incorrectly, so very important. You want to always have the handle on top of the knob here, and you want to turn this in place and have the back all lined up. And when you assemble it correctly, it turns on, as you guys could see. So far, what did you learn? You learned the price difference, you learned the size difference, you learned the weight difference, you learned all the different parts differences, you learned the accessories difference. Now we're going to learn how much you could juice in each machine if you load up the hopper completely full. All right, so as you guys can see, I'm all set up, ready to juice. 32-ounce wide mouth mason jar fits under the J2 without an issue. And basically, it almost fits under the J3 without an issue. It basically jacks up the parts just a little bit. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but I think that the Nama engineers should have taken this into consideration. They could still fix it if they put a little bit higher feet that made the juicer a little bit taller. You could easily be able to fit a 32-ounce mason jar without actually jacking up the machine just like a millimeter, right? If you press this down, it's not quite right. Let me see if the machine turns on. Yeah, so it still turns on and works. That being said, it's not the best. So anyways, what we're going to do in this test is we're going to go ahead and get a stopwatch out and time this. And what I'm literally going to do is I got pre-cut watermelon that I cut up myself into cubes. We're just going to jam-pack each hopper as much watermelon as I could pack in there, shut the lid, turn both machines on, see how long it takes to empty the hopper, and more importantly, how much juice we make in one fall swoop. You know, in the past when I've done watermelon in the J2, something like this will make pretty much a quart of juice, and when I've juiced in the J3 so far, I've only made 12 ounces of juice, whether I juice oranges or carrots that are packed to the hilt in the hopper. All right, first up, we're gonna go ahead and load up each hopper. All right, so as you guys can see, we got each hopper loaded up and we got it overfilled, all right? Don't recommend doing this. There's a maximum fill on both machines. I'm going above that because a lot of you guys may not read instructions like me, and I wanna show you guys what will actually happen. So on the J3, let's go ahead and crank this down. I do like that even if you overfill it, you can actually latch that down. It will latch. Sometimes on the J2, if you overfill it, it'll actually just pop back up like that. So let's see if we can get it to stay down. All right, we got it to stay down. All right, next up, let's go ahead and hit the start button and turn on both machines to see how long it takes each machine to process and how much juice each juice will make in this battle of the watermelon. All right, there you guys have it. It's about 1 minute and 20 seconds, and the Nama J3 is pretty much done juicing the watermelon. And as you guys can see, the Nama J2 is continuing to juice the watermelon. I will say the Nama J2, basically, if you looked at how fast it juiced a little bit quicker than the Nama J3. That being said, watermelon is one of the easiest things to juice, and as you guys can see, the J2 is pretty much done juicing the watermelon. Let's go ahead and turn both machines off, and now we're at a total of 1 minute and 55 seconds to juice watermelon in the J2. Took about 30 seconds more, but let's see how much juice we made when we loaded up this 2-liter hopper maximum full versus the small 36-ounce hopper of the J3. Of course, I always recommend picking up each unit and then tipping it up to get any last bits of juice out of the machine. Put the hopper stopper down to prevent any drips. And once again, on the J2, go ahead and get the last bits of drips out of the J2 as well. And put the stopper down. So let's compare here. So as you guys can see, the Nama J3 made approximately, oh wow, impressive. I'm gonna say that's about 21 ounces of juice in the J3. So technically the J3 can make anywhere from 8 to 21 if you're juicing watermelon. So that's the maximum. That being said, the J2 made basically one whole quart here, right? And that's actually, it's a deeper color, that's interesting. In addition, it also made an additional, I'm gonna say that's about 14 ounces of juice there. That made about 48 ounces of watermelon juice in this hopper, and we made approximately 21 ounces of juice in this hopper. So clearly you guys saw that the J2 hopper could produce about 2 times more juice than the Nama J3. That being said, when I check the pulp, I mean, they seem about the same wetness. It's hard to discern really the difference in the wetness of the pulp. Now the difference is this. I want to show you guys this. The hopper of the J2, look at this hopper, guys. It was a larger hopper, had a lot more stuff in it. Look how clean that is. I see 2 pieces of pineapple that did not get juiced. One there against the wall, one there. And a few small bits, but on the whole wall of the unit, it's pretty much clean. This is really the game-changing technology of the J2, in my personal opinion. Meanwhile, over on the J3, let's go ahead and open this up and show you guys inside this hopper. Inside this hopper, there's a little bit more residue, especially because we held half as much produce. You know, we have a few more smaller bits of watermelon that literally was in the blind spots, or in my opinion, got missed because they're in the edges where, you know, the processing blade can't hit. In addition, there's a few extra pieces of watermelon stuck on the wall. So, you know, this is the kind of performance you're going to get out of the J3. It's not quite as refined as the J2. All right, next up, let's go ahead and taste test the juice. We're going to try to mix this up a little bit. Here we go, taste testing the Nama J3 watermelon juice. To your health. That's a good watermelon juice. Now comparing that to the Nama J2 watermelon juice, trying to mix this up a little bit. To your health. This looks to me a little bit deeper color. I'm not sure why. To me, the J2 juice tastes a little bit stronger. This could be a fluke. You know, I did point out that I believe the J2 does grind a little bit better than this machine, but I have no proof other than just kind of seeing the design. But nonetheless, both machines juice watermelon, which once again is the easiest thing to juice successfully. What we really learned is that the J2 can really make literally twice as much juice as the J3. Of course, you know, watermelon, we got the maximum juice of approximately 21 ounces, whereas if you juice something like carrots or oranges, based on my test, I got approximately only 12 ounces of juice. So the last part of this episode is we're going to juice even amounts of carrots, beets, jicama, apple, and lime in both machines. And it looks like we got pretty much the same amount. We got 1867.8 and 1867.8 on both machines, on both scales. So let's go ahead and get this juice off started. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and load up both machines, press the start button, turn on both machines, let them juice, and I'm gonna add produce to each machine as needed to get it to finish, all right? First up, let's go ahead and load up the Nama J2 with the produce. We have basically a premix of produce in here, and I just like to basically take handfuls and drop it in. And once again, I'm a big fan of the larger hopper myself. Lets you juice large volumes of juice. And like I said before, right, if you guys are juicing for your health or for weight loss, right, I'm not going to kid you guys, drinking 8 ounces or 16 ounces a day of juice is definitely a step in the right direction, but you guys really need to get more vegetables in you especially, and that's where the larger juicer comes in, because it allows you to juice larger volumes and literally make meal replacements out of juice instead of just having juice as a nice handy supplement to your existing breakfast that probably is including bacon and eggs, which unfortunately are not that healthy in my opinion. We want to get more fruits and vegetables and other whole food plants into us, and juicing is an excellent way to do that, and that's why I'm a big fan of the J2, and for me personally, not so much the J3. All right, we got the J2 loaded up. Let's go ahead and load up the J3. The J2 pretty much got about half of the produce that we needed, and I figure out the J3 is probably going to take a quarter of that, hardly anything due to the smaller hopper size. All right, so I think we got the J3 hopper all loaded up. Let's go ahead and latch it into place. I definitely like how you could overstuff this. The lid doesn't pop up, whereas actually the J2 lid did pop up a little bit. In any case, let's go ahead and hit the start button, and let's go ahead and turn both machines on. Alright, there you guys have it. It took about 5 minutes, and the J2 is pretty much done juicing all that produce that we put into it. Let's go ahead and turn that machine off and let the J3 juicer catch up. Currently, I've had to fill it 3 times, and this will make it a 4th time. I did load each item into the J2 as it went. That being said, I probably could have just loaded it 1 additional time if I wanted to, and then totally left. That being said, the J3 does require more babysitting. Full disclosure, I want to say when I did start the J2, because I did overload it, it was popping up the lid. This is something that does not happen on the improved 3-liter hopper with the J2. So let's go ahead and let this finish up. I think the hopper's almost empty, so we can just fill in the last amount of produce, and I'll let this run uninterrupted. Alright, to me it looks like the Nama J3 is pretty much done juicing that whole recipe, and we're at 7 minutes and 40 seconds. So it took approximately 2 minutes and 40 seconds more to juice the same volume of produce going into the machine. And I had to, of course, load it 4 times instead of basically 2 times on the J2. And potentially it might have been even just maybe 1.5 times if I use the 3-liter hopper. All right, next up, let's go ahead and turn the machine off. And let's go ahead and tip this up, get any last bits of juice out of the machine. The J2 did, in my opinion, work fairly flawlessly. Did not stop once. That being said, when I did load the hopper up in between once and shut the lid, the J3 did stop at it, hit the reverse button, but otherwise it did not stop on the reverse. And let's go ahead and pick this up and tip it up to make sure we get every last bit of juice out. I do see some design flaws in the J3 that I will share with you guys in a minute that I saw during the juicing process. But first up, let's go ahead and bring these juices front and center for you guys. And once again, I did use a sieve to sieve out, oh man, sieve out the juice. All right, so let's go ahead and see how much pulp was put in to each sieve. So to do that, we're just gonna go ahead and once again get our scale out. And we're gonna go ahead and get a tare. And we're at 0. First up, we're gonna go ahead and weigh out the Nama J2 pulp. Looks like we have a total of 41.6 grams. Let's go ahead and tear that out again. Make sure we're at 0. 41.6 compared to 40.2. So actually what I'm going to say is actually put a similar amount of pulp into each juice. In this case, the J2 made a tad bit more pulp, so this is actually quite impressive. Now the difference is, and I could see this with my trained eyes, which you may not be able to see, but you guys can see this is the J2 pulp here, this is the J3 pulp here. The J2 pulp to me looks a lot more fine, meaning, once again, that the J2 kind of ground things up a bit better and maybe extracted more nutrition out of the juice and also made the pulp a little bit finer. So we're just going to go ahead and taste test the pulp. That's a mighty fine pulp there. Taste test the J3 pulp. I mean, it's a tad bit more coarse in my personal opinion. Of course, I need to get a microscope out to check it for sure. But it's not significant at all. All right, last up, let's go ahead and do a yield test on both machines. So to make it fair, we got nice and easy to look at measuring containers. And we're just gonna go ahead and pour each juice into these containers, and then we'll give you guys a close-up. So this is the J2 juice coming right out. All right, there we go. That's all the J2 juice coming right out. Next up, we got the J3 juice coming right out. All right, there we go. All the J3 juice coming right out. Next up, let's go ahead and do a close-up for you guys on the yields. It looks very close. All right, let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the juices. Over on the Nama J3 side, you guys can see we're not quite at 1,000 milliliters, but we pretty much are at 2 pints of juice there, pretty much right at the line on 2 pints of juice. Over on the Nama J2, once again, we are still under 100 milliliters of juice, but we're a little bit higher because if you look at the 2 pints of juice, we're a tad bit above the 2 pints of juice mark. Not by much, just by a little bit. So it looks like literally by a few hairs, the J2 did make more juice. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, what I'm looking at, but I don't know. To me, I mean, the juice colors are really close. I mean, it's hard to say which one is darker. I did put even amounts of each ingredient into the juice. I mean, it's hard to say. They look pretty much similar amounts of foam created on each one. And maybe the J2 made a little bit more juice, actually. All right, so that was pretty amazing. Pretty much both juicers put a similar amount of pulp in, which is kind of what Nama says. And they made a very similar yield. In this case, the J2 made like literally a little bit more, not by much. And I guess next up, let's go ahead and taste test the juices. First up, we'll taste test the Nama J3 juice. To your health. I mean, that's a good juice. And then next up, the Nama J2 juice. I mean, to me, the J2 juice looks a tad bit darker, but I don't know. Let's taste it. I mean, it's so close. This is when I need my ex-girlfriend who's a super taster. She'd be able to tell me if there's any significant difference to me. I mean, they taste pretty much the same. Yeah, so, you know, here's the thing. Maybe my initial review of the J3 is a little bit harsh on it. That being said, what this video proves to me is that it is a solid performer, right? It's only $100 less than the J2, so unless the space is at a premium in your situation or you need to travel with it and you need something smaller that weighs a few less pounds, or if you're in a dorm room, and once again, guys and girls, if you guys are not going to juice that much, right? As you guys saw, the J3 took literally, you know, almost 50% longer to juice a similar quantity, maybe a little bit less juice than the J2. Also, it took more labor because I had to load this up several more times than the J2. That being said, I do like how the lid closes and actually doesn't pop up when you do overfill it. That's something I hope they fix on the J2 2-liter hopper that I've noticed it has been repaired on the 3-liter hopper. Next up, I want to show you guys actually inside the juicers real quick to show you guys what's left inside the machines when you're done. I mean, I could sit here and compare the pulps, I mean, for you guys, but, you know, that's going to be mostly futile. You know, in my opinion, if I feel the pulp, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, the J3 pulp feels a little bit more coarse. I don't think it grinds quite as well as the J2 due to the shorter run and different design of the auger. That may be all in my head. So I will give you guys that. But what is not in my head is the top sets and actually what's in them when you're done juicing. So let's go ahead and take these apart. So on the bottom of the hopper of the J3, you guys can see there's a little bit of pulp here stuck that actually did not go in to the machine. In addition, if we lift this top up, you guys can see there's a little bit of pulp stuck on the top. And also there's a lot of pulp, you know, in my opinion, on the walls of the unit, especially on that wall. You guys can see lots of pulp. And of course, in the areas, in the void areas, the blind spots that I would call it, there's a lot more pulp as well that did not get fed in the machine. Also, if we look at these walls just from the outside, you guys can see lots of pulp that you're basically just going to end up hosing down your kitchen sink. So if your sink clogs, right, that might not be a good idea to have a little strainer. But yeah, there's a lot more pulp in there, and you know what? That's based on the design. They've miniaturized this, and in my opinion, they did not do as good of a design job as they did on the J2. So let's go ahead and take the J2 apart. J2, open up the lid. Do we have anything on the lid? I mean, yes, we have a few small bits on the lid, less than on the J3. And look inside this hopper. Look at the walls, guys. I mean, to me, there's a lot less pulp on the walls, considering this hopper is 2 times larger. So you'd think, oh, there'd be 2 times the pulp on the walls as the small one. But actually, I would say there's less pulp on the walls on the J2. And that's because I believe this machine is probably the best doggone design hopper style machine that really helps to funnel things in. Now, there is some pulp stuck on the back wall that normally I would flick down to get in there before I turn it off. But I want to show you guys actually what really happens. But as you guys can see on the bottom of this, there's no blind spots, right? On the bottom of this, basically there's nothing on the bottom. That's because this is really designed well so that it basically gets all the produce in the machine. Of course, on the bottom of this, there is a little bit of residue that you will need to clean off as well. Let's go ahead and pull out the auger on the J3. It's fairly clean. Once again, you want to let the machine run a few extra 30 seconds once the last bit of juice comes out and the pulp's coming out. Make sure it's pretty much empty, less on the auger, so that's good. On the J2 auger, let's go ahead and pull this out. Once again, there's a little bit more pulp on the auger. Once again, we are looking at the auger and it's not quite black. It may have a magenta tinge. That's because the carotenoids are staining the black auger. Put some dish soap on your brush and brush that off. A little bit of pulp on the bottom of the auger as well. Let's go ahead and remove the juicing screen and wiping blade. There is a little bit of pulp on the wiping blade at various points. And if we remove it, you guys can see there's a little bit of pulp build up on the bottom of the juicing screen as it's shoving pulp out the holes. This piece is fairly clean. And then let's go ahead and pull out the J2 auger. J2 auger, once again, also has some pulp on the bottom of it as well. But the pulp doesn't look like it was really pushing out too much out of the juicing screen, although there is pulp on the juicing screen as well. And of course, let's take a look at both bottoms of the juicing bowl. And actually, you know, they're fairly similar. Both machines have some amounts of pulp on the bottom of the juicing bowl as well. And both still have some juice on there. Now, the one thing I will say is that I did see as the J3 was running, there'd always be a portion of juice on the bottom of the juicing bowl that actually would kind of layer up even with my spout cap open. And I do see the design of this so that it drops down immediately. I mean, I don't know if I would make maybe make a better rake on that to try to shuttle the juice out faster. Also, the other thing to notice is that there's a lot more pulp residues, and I don't know why this exactly occurred on the inside of the bowl. Whereas on the J2, it's pretty much all just on the bottom, and the sides of the juicing bowl is fairly clean. Of course, both these will drop open so you guys can quick clean these two parts. So in the end of this episode, I will go ahead and give my summary of this episode, and I'll say maybe I was a little bit hard on the J3 on my initial unboxing video. It seemed to put a pretty much same amount of pulp in the juice as the J2, so we could take that out of the equation. That being said, in my initial unboxing video, it did stop several times on carrots, which I think it should not have done. In this case, it did not stop with my mixture of carrots, beets, jicama, apple, and lime. That being said, I did super load the hopper the first time, but I do torture testing on the juicers. So maybe if you like light load it like I did in this episode, you shouldn't have an issue. I will say that the pulp amount that it puts in the juice is confirmed that it is actually similar to the J2, and actually also similar in yield. May make a little bit less yield because maybe there's more residue left in the hopper that is not as well designed. That being said, what I will say is this, unless you need something small, right, I'm going to say buy the J2. It's going to save you more time, especially when you're juicing larger amounts. Of course, it can juice smaller amounts as well. I will also say that it's a better value for your money because it's time proven itself with a durable motor that has been out for 2 years and has had some, you know, small incremental changes to make this machine better than when it was initially released. And of course, the Nama J3 was just released. I still don't like the fact that there's no feed chute because I would really love to feed things in as it is going. I will say that the motor is quite stout and was able to juice, you know, a quart of juice without an issue. I think the main thing for me is that I'm just not a fan of the smaller hopper and just a small price differential that with just $100 more, you could get the full-size Nama J2 and be off to the races. That being said, if you guys are tight on space, have an apartment, you know, in a dorm room, have a small kitchen, you know, and you want to get batch juicing in a Nama juicer with a long warranty, you know, I'm going to say, hey, the J3 is it. It's also great for travel and college students in dorms that want to start incorporating juice. Once again, I'm going to stick to my plan that if you guys want to make significant amounts of juice to do a juice fast, lose weight, heal from, you know, health opportunity, then I'm going to say just go with the J2, do it right the first time. And no matter which of these juicers you choose, you're going to have a 15-year warranty around the world supported by NamaWell. If you guys want to buy either of these two machines and I've helped you out, please help me out by using the coupon code BIGDADDY because the J2 is the Big Daddy of the J3 juicer so that you guys could save 10%, but also Nama will share with me a small commission so I can continue to make these educational videos for you guys, share with you guys and comparing so you guys know the full story on how the machines perform against each other so you guys could purchase the right machine for you. I hope you guys benefited from all my time invested. Today it pretty much took about a half a day to get all the produce, prepare it, juice it, make this video, and getting this video and publishing it for you guys. So I hope you guys appreciate me, and if you guys do, hey, give me a little love, thumbs up this video, and also be sure to share this with somebody else you think it could help. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new upcoming episodes. I've come out in 5 to 7 days. You never know what new juicers I'll be unboxing, what new juicers I'll be comparing, or what new juicer knowledge bombs I'll be dropping on you. And make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And also be sure to check my past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 700 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about the different brand juicers, testing and comparing them so you guys could find the right juicer for you. Links down below to my favorite videos that I've made with the Nama J2 as well as my unboxing of the Nama J3 so you guys can get all the information before you make your purchase on such an expensive machine. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.